Hi, welcome to today's demonstration. In today's demonstration video, I'm going to show you a number of Velosimo integration connectors working together to provide a complete solution experience. In this integration, we're going to be working on a building permit within Cityworks. The permit application is going to go out for signature using DocuSign. We're then going to review the building plans on the building permit using Bluebeam. And once completed, we'll then demonstrate how to send all of the attachments on the case to Laserfiche. Let's begin. I'm going to start off today's demonstration by showing you an integration connector between Cityworks and DocuSign. In this integration, all actions will be driven from the Cityworks workflow. We'll start by triggering the event in the Cityworks workflow to send a building permit application to DocuSign to be routed to two applicants on the case for signature. Let's begin. Here we're looking at a Cityworks case. Everything is driven from the workflow. We're going to first start by clicking Send for Signature on the workflow. This is now telling Velosimo to send the soil erosion permit that's attached to the case to two people, Aiden and Chris, who are an applicant and a property owner. The task is now saved, and Velosimo is sending the email to the applicants. I'm going to switch over to Chris's email. You can see here, Chris has received an email from DocuSign. I'm going to go ahead and open that. I'm acting as Chris. Here within DocuSign, you now see the permit that was sent over from Cityworks. I'm now going to add the signature for, notice the agent's signature, that is me. And now I've saved it. Now there's a second signer, Aiden, who also needs to sign this. So I'm going to switch over to, in this demonstration, Aiden's email. This is now acting as Aiden, opening the DocuSign as Aiden. Here you'll see the signature from Chris is already there. And going to continue and sign as Aiden. Clicking sign, prompted with the DocuSign windows to sign. Go ahead and I'm going to click finish. Now at this time both signatures have been added, and within a moment Velosimo will put the document back into Cityworks. So flipping back to Cityworks, we will have a fourth document here soon. Refresh, let's see if it's back, and it should be, there should be a soil erosion sign permit. There it is. So there's the signed version that's now come back from DocuSign. We can click that. It's going to go ahead and open up, and you can see both signatures from both Aiden and Chris with the DocuSign envelope stamped coming back from DocuSign. So showing the bi-directional integration between DocuSign and Cityworks. Next in our workflow, I will be showing you an integration connector between Cityworks and Bluebeam. In this integration, we're going to send information from Cityworks. We're going to send over the plans that have been attached to this case to Cityworks, where a new project and sessions will be established within inside of Bluebeam Studio. We'll also go through a second revision cycle where we'll take in a second set of plans, route those over to Bluebeam, and go through a second revision cycle. So showing multiple revision cycles and the bi-directional integration between Bluebeam Studio and Cityworks using the Velosimo integration connector. Within Cityworks, we're back on the same case. We're going to click Route to Bluebeam now on the workflow, which is going to trigger the routing of the two attached plans, the building plan and the site plans, to Bluebeam Studio. So I'm going to flip over now and show Velosimo a little bit. So here in the middle is Velosimo running between the two products. You can see what we call flow executions running. These are the API calls that are being made between the two systems to transfer the documents, etc., set up the project within Bluebeam. So within a moment, we should be able to refresh and see that those plans have been routed. You can see the statuses, the labels say routed to Bluebeam now on the two plans. The workflow has been updated to documents routed, and the workflow moved forward to the next step. So at this point, we're going to now move on to setting up the different the different reviews that are needed for this particular review. So here we're going to mark that a building review is needed, that a planning review is needed, that a zoning review is needed. That's done by saying route documents. And then we're going to no review needed for public utilities and no review needed for floodplain. So we're going to go ahead and save that. And we're going to move the workflow forward. On the plans distribution, we will now mark routed for review. What this is doing as it's saving is now telling Velosimo to create the Bluebeam Studio session for the reviews that are needed. The workflow is now updated, and we'll wait for a moment for those tasks to update. Flip again back to Velosimo just to show you all transactions running. This is the Velosimo engine in the middle that's running. These screens are not screens your daily users usually see, but just showing you how it works. So now we'll refresh, and we should see the Cityworks workflow updated with the 3 reviews that need to be done in a docs in Bluebeam status, and the other 2 are no review needed. So next we're going to jump over to Bluebeam. We're going to now log into Bluebeam Studio from within review. So I'm typing in my user, my Bluebeam Studio user. This user has been assigned to the sessions that were just created as a user within Cityworks. So Andrew is one of the users on the workflow within the Cityworks case. Now you can see that we've logged into Bluebeam Studio, and on the left in the menu I see I have a review session with the case ID from Cityworks and review number 1. So CB2329B, there are a number 2 reviewers and 2 documents. Those are the 2 documents that came over for Cityworks. I'm going to go ahead and just apply some markup. At this point it's just purely Bluebeam review, and any of the types of functions you're used to in Bluebeam review are available here for you to use. So I'm adding 2 markups to the different documents, and then once we get that done, I'm going to go ahead and just add a comment maybe. So once I've got both the markups done, the next thing I can do is I can use from within Bluebeam Studio a feature to generate a markup summary report. So in this case I've marked up 2 of the plans, and I need to generate a summary report to send back to the applicant. So using Bluebeam's built-in abilities, I've now created that. I like it. I'm going to go ahead and right click on this and click add to my studio session. So I've now completed, let's say, revision cycle number 1, marked up plans, and I need to go back to Cityworks and update the workflow with the statuses. So I've approved 2 of the reviews, but I need a resubmittal done on 1 of those review cycles. So at this point I've now moved forward, and I'm going to mark the workflow with a revisions required status. This is now telling Velosimo to get the marked up versions from within Bluebeam Studio and bring them back into Cityworks as new attachments that can go back to the applicant. So we'll give it just a moment. It takes a little bit to do some of the processing behind the scenes to go ahead and collapse down those PDFs essentially into flat versions and do a number of things. So within a moment we should see the Cityworks workflow update, and there we do. And we're going to go ahead and scroll on up here. Give it just a second. Those documents should come into this case. We'll go ahead and show Velosimo running. Looks like it's all done, and we'll go ahead and refresh the Cityworks case. And you'll notice now I've got a couple more documents or attachments that have been added to the case. We now have the site plans revision required 1 and building plans plus the markup. Go ahead and show you this, the marked up versions right out of Bluebeam that are now attached to the Cityworks case and are ready for a second revision cycle. So now I'm going to move on, and acting as taking in the second revision cycle, I'm going to upload 2 new versions, site plan version 1 and site plan and then building plans version 2. Going to go ahead and expand this out a little bit. Mark these as needing plan review by marking them plan review on the label. And then I'm going to go back through the workflow. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to status the workflow as route to Bluebeam. As in the previous cycle, this is now sending those documents, those new versions, over to Bluebeam, where we will then go through a second revision cycle. So as that's running behind the scenes for a moment, we'll wait for that to finish. Should be done. And we see that those documents have now been routed over to Bluebeam. I can see that the status route to Bluebeam Studio has been updated and the documents are now sent over. Well, go ahead and see the labels should have changed, but it looks like they haven't just yet, so might have moved a little bit fast, but let's go ahead and see they should be changed to routed to Bluebeam. Great. And we're going to step through again and mark which revisions are needed. So we'll go in and which reviews are needed, excuse me. So in this case, we're going to do a building review, but we don't need a planning review. That was approved last time. We don't need a zoning review. That one was approved. And this does not have a public utilities or a floodplain review. So we're going to go ahead and click those and click save. For the second cycle, we just need to do a building plans review or a building review. So now we're going to go ahead and click route for review. And this once again is triggering some actions within Velosimo to make all the appropriate API calls between the two systems and create a second revision cycle within Bluebeam linked to the first revision cycle. So all the histories there, everything like that. So give it just a moment. We should now see the workflow within Cityworks has now been updated, that the revision or the session has been created. We have the one review task that's needed, and we're going to go ahead and jump back into Bluebeam. Go ahead and close the last session, but you'll notice now we have a second session. We have a review session number 2, so you see number 1 and number 2. We also within Bluebeam have a project that links everything together. So you can see the project has review cycle 1, review cycle 2. Go ahead and we're going to jump back in and open up the review cycle number 2, and you're seeing that we now have the V1 and the version 2 documents here. So I'm going to quickly just go ahead and move forward to approve and stamp those. Stamp these both as approved. Corrections were all made and everything passed at this point. So first revision cycle was a corrections required. Second revision cycle is going to be approved, so I'm now done. I'm going to jump back into the Cityworks workflow, mark my building review as approved, and then mark the plans coordination as plans approved. Now, just like the last revision cycle, what's happening now is Velosimo is making API calls to Bluebeam to bring over those approved versions with the stamps from Bluebeam. It's going to attach those automatically to this case, and we're going to move forward in the workflow. So we'll give it just a minute. It's saved. It takes just a moment for all of the executions to happen behind the scenes for the documents to come back. So give that just a second and we'll see if they're back. They should be. And it looks like they are. So we're going to go ahead and let me expand this out a little bit and to show you that we now have the approved versions that have come back along with all of the history. Next in the workflow, I'm going to show you our bi-directional integration between Cityworks and Laserfiche. In this demonstration, we're going to move the documents from, or the attachments from the Cityworks case into Laserfiche. This will be done by updating the Laserfiche workflow as in the last demonstrations, and will show the integration that's possible between Cityworks and Laserfiche. Back in Cityworks, we're on the same case and looking at all of the documents that have been added during our workflow. So the signed version, the marked up versions, the different plans, all the documents that are now on the case. We're now at the last step in the workflow and ready to issue the permit. But before issuing, we want to send those documents to Laserfiche. So we're going to go ahead and click Send Docs to Laserfiche on the workflow. This is now triggering an action in Velosimo again, Velosimo is going to start to copy all of these documents that are attached to the case to workflow. I'm going to go ahead and finish this off by issuing this permit, and we're going to jump back over into Laserfiche. We should see within a moment underneath this folder a new folder created with the Cityworks case number. Don't see it yet. Let's jump over to Velosimo. So here we can see Velosimo executing again behind the scenes, grabbing the document and executing in parallel all of the downloads needed to get the different documents. So here it is starting to download and upload those documents into Laserfiche. Takes a moment, so we'll jump back. So we're going to refresh. We should see, yep, we do. There's the 298 folder, and some of the files are starting to come in. So over the next few minutes, we should see those trickle in. A couple more coming in. Now, for this demonstration, I know a few of these as I jump back are going to be in a pause state or a retry state. So there they are. 2 of those are paused. What this is I'm going to show you, knowing that these 2 would fail, because we only have limited licenses on our Laserfiche server for our development environment, our demo environment. We got a 500 error back from the API. And notice this transaction was all logged. There's the info. Couldn't sign in. We had too many simultaneous. So I knew what happened. But what's magical about Velosimo, this is now in a retry state. It's pending re-execution. It probably has re-executed at this point. And I can see it has the status is complete. You notice there are 2 executions, and this time it got a 200 back, which is success. So this is showing how Velosimo can automatically retry when errors happen, guaranteeing delivery. I'm going to go ahead and refresh. You can see all of the documents have been moved over, and we see within Laserfiche now all those documents copied over. Part of the integration, there are mappings between the different, so the template, the building permits template was picked, and different data fields have been mapped over. So there's a wide selection of fields that are available to map. All of the mapping is done. This is a look at the Velosimo no-code administration interface. So part of the configuration work was setting up where to save those documents to, dev/cityworks, that's the folder. You have access to all the different Laserfiche fields, volumes, and the dynamicness of the nature of the naming of the folders was done here, where I'm now mapping in case ID. But if I wanted to extend that, where it went under, let's say, case name as a folder, I can do that. And so this interface allows here to set up the mapping to the template and all of those other pieces.